Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing? Good night, last speaker. My name is Bria Smith. I am a board member of March for Our Lives, which was given the position earlier in May, and I'm so grateful to be standing here in front of you guys and talking about peace and what that looks like through trust and young activism and activism today and what that looks like and how we all want to be collectively talking about activism. So, my name is Bria, like I said before, and I want to talk about how young people in society as collective can talk about trust and what that looks like for older generations in this presence because a lot of times people always say, Bria, I'm so sorry, you and everyone in your organization, that adults have left so much on your shoulders to clean up. And I look at them and I'm like, you're still living, you're only 30. You can help me in this conversation. This is not just a young person's movement. This is a collective. This is a society. This is trust. This is community. And like you said, this is family. And at times we have this distrust in activism because we feel that we're not close enough to these issues. I call it the bystander effect, where a lot of people have saying that they don't want to enter these platforms because they don't trust their story, they don't trust their narrative, they don't trust their privilege or their experience to actually come into this platform and diversify the perspectives that we're hearing on a national platform of activism, of youth activism. And a lot of times, like, I was always distrustful of different narratives and of media publications because of that lack of representation of black women, of trans women, of any person of color. Literally, everyone who fits in these marginalized communities were not giving these platforms to talk about the issues that affected them on a day by day basis. So, of course, people who are pushed to the side would not have trust. So, what does that look like in a youth movement to recollect that trust and to ask older generations to repair this trust between younger generations to have effective conversations? I know a lot of people don't know who Juice World is, but I'm pretty sure we all know what violence looks like. And a lot of times that sets us apart because we come into spaces thinking that we can't have conversations because of differing in our perspectives or backgrounds. And I want to talk about this through three phases. I know my mom's tired of hearing the same phases that I always talk about, but it's reflection, digestion, and creation. Can you guys repeat after me? Reflection. Really? I know I'm the last speaker, but more energy. Come on. Reflection, digestion, creation. So the first phase is reflection. How are you reflecting on your past life or you growing up into this or living into this new phase of yourself? For me, reflecting was really, really hard because it's about accountability. And a lot of times humans do not want to hold themselves accountable because it sucks to prove that you were wrong or it sucks to prove that you have done something that you should have done better. It sucks to not enter spaces and not know things, to learn, to keep your mouth shut even if you want to say something. It sucks to hold yourself accountable and trust others who don't look like you. And like for me, coming into March for Our Lives, when after the shooting in Parkland, and before I even became friends with the students from Parkland and built this family of trust, I was so distrustful because all I saw were just images of white kids talking about gun violence. And I was like, what do you guys know? And that was unfair. That was a distrust. That was a platform that wasn't diverse, that I was denouncing, but I didn't ask, how do I utilize? How do I implement? How do I come into these spaces and make trust in this family, in this community, not for myself, but for other people? I think a lot of times people of color, and I don't want to speak for everyone because, people always say every black experience is the same, but that's not true. But for me, I was tired of seeing so many images of students who didn't look like me, who weren't trusting like me, who didn't have distrust like me, but getting privileges and platforms that I thought that I deserved and that I did deserve. And it was really hard to hold that accountability, to get rid of this distrust to kids who just did not know how to ask these questions, how to have conversations, how to enter these spaces and find trust. Because when you're 17, you don't trust anyone. Literally, you don't trust your teachers. Your teachers give you bad grades if you speak back. You trust your parents, but you don't trust a lot of things because you're always told that trust is perceptual and that you have to enter spaces in a certain narrative that you don't even trust. So a lot of times reflection enters into digestion, and that's my favorite phase. It's absorbing things of other people. It's absorbing stories. It's absorbing perspectives. And how can you enter this new phase of youth activism without always coming into this platform and wanting to speak about things you don't know, but absorbing and digesting and utilizing these stories to build trust and to build momentum and to build perspective. And I think that was also hard for this movement of youth activism in my experience with gun violence with March for Our Lives, is because digesting and absorbing so many different stories made me feel ill. taking in so many people's experiences with violence or injustice or sad stories where I hugged a woman in New York after she had her son was shot and killed and she buried him the day before she met me, or when I went to Standing Rock Reservation and I sat with the indigenous people and they cried on their barren land, or when I went to Salt Lake City and we were followed by Utah gun exchange men with these big white men with AR-15s. How can you find trust if all these things are happening? You know, and as a young person, we're entering these new stages of activism where we're always being stimulated by things in media, projections of injustices, small Snapchat videos that are traumatizing us each day when we just want to see a cute shirt online. How do we build trust when our country is reminding us every single day that we cannot trust the government, we cannot trust the president, we can't trust this, and that, all these local things that are happening because no one's having effective conversations and no one's digesting? No one's absorbing. No one's acting as if the person sitting in front of you is a reflection of you and you should be acting as if you were their family. That's digestion. And it's hard to sit there and take in someone else's hurt, but we have to if we want to trust and if we want to get rid of injustices that are literally fluid and transversing globally. It's not just happening in our country. Reflecting back, I had to realize that it wasn't just happening in my country. It wasn't just Black women going missing that no one's talking about on a national platform. It's a lot of people across the globe who are experiencing distrust with leadership and platforms and activism because we aren't reflecting and digesting. Do you guys remember the third one was? Creation, yes. A beautiful example of what you created before. Creation. How can you take this platform of trust and create something that's actually going to benefit someone else? And for me, I don't know if this is kind of the hardest one because I'm always a person that just wants to start projects and never complete them because I'm a Sagittarius, scattered brain. But creation is so individualistic. Is how you think that you are going to enter this new wave of activism and actually implement what you want to see happening. And a lot of times, like I said, a lot of us experience the bystander effect because we're like, oh, well, I'm white, so I can't speak on that issue. I'm just going to let them figure it out. You're wasting your space in this family. You're not speaking up and you're watching these injustices happening and you're perpetuating it because every single person has a voice. Every single person has an experience and a narrative of their own to speak for themselves. And together, that's why it's a collective. And together, that's why you collectively create something. And if that's trust, that's what we need to be funneling towards. Trust as a creation, trust as a call to action, trust as a product that we all produce. Because, like I said before, I'm tired of like old men saying, back when I was 17, I was only focused on this and that. What I was like, well, when I was 17, I have to focus on this and this because trust is different and it fluid and it changes and we have to have a conversation with everyone. It doesn't matter if you're older or younger. Entering this new wave in this platform, we want to have trust as not an ideology of like communities coming together and saying that they trust you if you do a trust fall. But what I noticed is I wasn't trusting people who looked like me because I was afraid of what they would do with my story, my perspective, and how would they perceive me. But I think a lot of times we have these narratives and projections and stereotypes of other people because we don't trust ourselves as individuals to listen and to understand them. So we built this wall already. This wall that's so huge before we even ask them questions about what you're even experiencing. Because we let narratives from 400 years ago tell us what trust looks like in our country, or tell us what communication looks like in our country, or tell us what narrative is and how we're supposed to absorb narrative. And with March for Our Lives, I noticed that we were having so many communities not trusting each other because we were all, like you said before, so fragmented, so different, so divisive, so exclusionary because because we didn't have this conversation of what trust looks like. And I know it was really hard because I don't know, like I never wanted anyone to tell me that, Bria, you're distrustful because you're not allowing yourself to understand others. And I'm like, I thought I was, but sometimes are we actually reflecting on our past life, reflecting on the things that we have done before, reflecting on how we can enter these spaces, our privileges, our experiences, our narratives? Are we digesting those of other people and digesting the conversations of trust? And are we creating things as a collective in order to build communities, to transfer messages and narratives and get rid of those projections that literally traumatize us each and every day? We're stimulated by these things each and every day, but we're so numb and conditioned that we think that's a form of trust. That isn't. That's a disillusion. Distrusting things that are having power over our narratives is the first step to getting rid of violence, because narrative is powerful And conversation is powerful, and trust is powerful. And I hope that you guys trust me enough to take this message and let it resonate you, and you bring it outside the door, because what was the purpose of this, of us coming here, if that's not what we're going to do? Take these stories, because we trust and we believe in them, and let them out into the space. Thank you.